the Pontiac Silverdome for one of these two teams leads this way. For Ann Arbor Pioneer, the Pioneers, you take M14 to I-275 to 696 Road, M10 if you will, on into the Silverdome. For Davison, the state championship Class Single A trail leads from M15 going west, I-75 south, M59 west, and you're on in. Davison, the underdog. They've been the underdogs throughout this state championship tournament football trail, going up once again against a heavy favorite, the Ann Arbor Pioneers. So it's the Ann Arbor Pioneers against the Davison Cardinals, one of the top teams in the South Central Conference in Ann Arbor Pioneer, and the Big Nine Conference champions, the Davison Cardinals. Weather tonight, it is an unbelievably cold, unbelievably tough place to play here at Atwood Stadium in Flint as we talk to you. The field is dusted with snow. The yard markers are totally obliterated. So bear with us during the broadcast in case we get a little lost as to where the football is exactly positioned on scrimmage plays. Temperature in the mid-20s. Winds northwest, gusting up to 28 miles per hour. That will play a very definite factor on tonight's contest, taking the wind chill down to about 0 degrees as we talk to you on this Friday evening, November 20th of 1987. I'm Mike Gachowski. With me, as always, Tom Skinner. And Tom, the weather has to take top precedent here tonight when we talk about these two teams in this Class A football semifinal.
It certainly does, Mike, and the weather has altered the game plans to some extent for the two coaches. Coach Chuck Leroy from Ann Arbor Pioneer and Dick DeLage of Davison High School. We had an opportunity to talk, or I had an opportunity, to talk to both coaches tonight down on the football field as they were preparing in the pregame preparations, and we will look to them to see what they had to say in their pregame comments. Tom Skinner here at Atwood Stadium, and what a night for football. You never would have expected it when you saw the day begin today, but we're here with Davison matched up against Ann Arbor Pioneer. And first of all, let's go to Ann Arbor Pioneer's Coach Chuck Lorry. And Coach, you can prepare all week, but you can't prepare for snow like this. Is it going to change your game plan much tonight?
Well, we plan on playing good defense, and that was no matter what the field conditions was going to be, and we still feel like that's what we're going to have to do. And if we do, we'll probably be competitive. If we're not very good defensively, we probably won't be very competitive.
Any keys offensively? You've placed a lot of importance on the defense, and with the weather conditions, that certainly will remain consistent, but what are you going to have to do offensively tonight?
Well, we want to be able not to make a mistake. In other words, a fumble or a turnover, or back ourselves up with penalties. I really think the team that makes the fewest mistakes will probably be the one that advances on to the Silverdome next week.
Okay, thanks, Coach. And now we turn to the other side, and Davison head mentor Dick DeLage. And Coach DeLage, congratulations on a fine season. As Pioneers enjoyed a good year, and you're one win away also from the Silverdome. Does this change your game plan, this being the weather we're having tonight?
Yeah, it certainly does. We came into the game hoping we could run and pass like we have all year, and I think everybody's going to have to curtail what they do a little bit, and I hope we can just play good enough defense to keep Pioneer out of the end zone and not make too many mistakes.
Dick DeLage from Davison High School and Chuck Lorry from Ann Arbor Pioneer going to be battling it out on the field with their football teams. And this is Tom Skinner wishing the best to both teams for an injury-free, good football game. Let's go back up to the booth.
Back here, talking live to you now. Both teams are on the field. Ann Arbor Pioneer dressed in their white jerseys with the purple numerals and the purple trim gray pants, while Davison across the way as we look in their rust jerseys with the mustard numerals and the mustard pants with the white trim going down the leg. Tom, looking at these two teams quickly before we start tonight's contest, what kind of similarities do you see?
Well, ironically enough, both teams, first of all, Davison with one loss and Pioneer with two, both teams lost to a team during the regular season that they came back to defeat in postseason play. Also, both teams have lost starting quarterbacks. In fact, for the Davison Cardinals, in their opener, they lose their number one quarterback, and Tim Hintz steps in and fills in admirably. Second team all-leaguer in both the media and the coaches poll. And on the other side, the Pioneers, the Ann Arbor Pioneers, have gone to their third-string quarterback. Rob Ferrari is starting his second game, as the Pioneers have lost two quarterbacks. In fact, one of their quarterbacks, Kip Dickinson, an all-league and all-state football player, Kip going down in the final game of the year with a shoulder injury. And since the Pioneers have lost yet another quarterback before Rob Ferrari has settled in, and he'll lead the Pioneers in tonight's contest.
So with Ferrari at the helm, Pioneer sputtered quite a bit in last week's playoff action against East Lansing, and once again that revenge motive coming in. Pioneer avenging that regular season loss to East Lansing.
Well, it comes into play that Ferrari, in starting his second game, is going to be tested by this Davison defense. Ferrari 3 of 6 last week, 4 of 10 on the season, 1 touchdown pass, and the Pioneers on the season threw for 15 touchdown passes, but that passing game exited with Dickinson, or at least the consistency of that passing game exited when Kit Dickinson went down with the injury. They'll have to stay with the ground game for the most part, rely on their defense, they being the Pioneers, to keep them in the football game, and they're going to have to get good work from their special teams. Coach Dick DeLage said before the game that he felt that they had to play well in special team situations. The Cardinals had to, because Pioneer can come up with a big play defensively.
Set to go here, Class A semifinals. The winner to meet in the Pontiac Silverdome, either Brother Rice or Redford Catholic Central, were underway. Ball coming down to about the 30. One of the up men, 3, spinning out to close to midfield was Shane Miller with a football, and a dandy run that was, and sets Davison up in excellent field position for their first scrimmage try.
Looks to be Mike at about the 43, and we'll have a chance to look at the Davison offense here right after this play. You'll see Davison come out. They like to throw and run the football. They mix their offense. They'll set up from the wishbone, but with the weather conditions, you'll probably see the ground game be a vital part of that offense instead of that mixed running passing game.
The quarterback is junior Tim Hentz out of the wishbone, pitches it back to Aaron Rubio, and Rubio is hammered. Got maybe a yard, but that's all. And a thunderous tackle over there by a couple of the linebackers there for Ann Arbor Pioneer, and the defensive end, Kurt Large, number 56.
Large is a good one. He will play tough for the Pioneers. As you see the lineups offensively, Christensen, Thomas, Lauren, Johnson, Godfrey, Brandon, and Burdan across the front, Hence, DeLage, Hall, and Rubio in the backfield.
Second down and 9. And to give inside to the fullback, number 35,
Rob Johnson. Rob Johnson will bring the plays in with Aaron Rubio, and when he comes in, he'll move to the fullback spot. John DeLage will then go to one of the halfback spots from his fullback position, his normal fullback position.
Coach Dick DeLage of Davison was quoted before the game as saying Roy Hall and John DeLage, his halfbacks, are going to have to run the ball effectively for us to have a chance against favored Ann Arbor Pioneer. That was before the snow. I would think that is even more in focus with the snow. Fumble went right in the air, picked up, and fumbled again by Ann Arbor Pioneer. But grabbing his own fumble for Pioneer was Kevin Modoliski, and Pioneer has the game's first turnover.
Talking before the game, Coach Lorine felt that turnovers were going to be vital, and his team coming up with the first big turnover opportunity. They'll have first down and 10 at about the 48, call it the 49-yard line, it looks like. Check that. They will call it the 45, and again, we beg forgiveness for the stumbling we might have or through the yard lines as the snow all over the place, and now they have corrected it. It is the 48-yard line.
First and 10 for Pioneer. Will set up their offense for you after this play. It's a give rolling right and going down more or less under his own power, Adam Hinton. It'll be second down and about 10 as we take a look at the Pioneers offense.
Belden, Wasserman, Moore, Robinson, McDowell, Beatty, and McCabe across the front. The flanker, Virgil Jackson, Hinton, Bailey, and Ferrari rounding it out. Ferrari, of course, the quarterback.
Pioneer with a single wide out to the far side out of the pro set. Ferrari bucks up the signals against a 5-man Davison front. And he gives it to number 35, streaking into the clear all the way. That could be Aaron Bailey, touchdown! 52 yards. Aaron Bailey right through the middle of a Davison defense that had a huge gaping hole right through that linebacker seam, Tom.
Well, they went right through the guard's center area in the heart of that Davison defense. And Aaron Bailey springing free for the big gain, 52 yards. Here's the replay. They give the little reverse pivot and then shaking a tackle, would-be tackle at the line of scrimmage, and Bailey going all the way. Big run for Aaron Bailey, and Pioneer on the scoreboard quick, and you see they set up a little bit differently. You'll see that offense shift and go all the way over to the right now. They want to give Davison something to think about.
Very unorthodox. They're setting up for the conventional place kick with left footer Chris Moore. Snap is good, placement down. Moore's kick is up, but it's wide right. Moore no good with the point after, and Ann Arbor Pioneer leads at 6-0, just 2 minutes 33 seconds into tonight's snowy contest at Flint's Atwood Stadium.
Right, coming into tonight's game, both coaches with good records. Dick DeLage on the short end of the experience, if you will, when looking at the two coaches. Chuck Lori with over 100 games experience as a head coach, with a stint at Blackford High School in Indiana, and now at Ann Arbor Pioneer. Lori 86-19 career record, 9-2 this year with the Pioneers. Dick DeLage 15-5, and Dick DeLage named the Class A Coach of the Year. As there you see the records of the coaches on your television screens. Chuck Lori from Ann Arbor Pioneer, and his career record, a fine career record. And Dick DeLage on his way to what would seem to be an outstanding career as a head coach at Davison High School.
Lori has directed his team to the last 4 Class A state playoffs in Michigan. 2 out of the last 3 years his team has made the semifinals. There's the kickoff by Sean McCabe, comes down to Roy Hall. Hall to about the 30, breaking free, scampers out to about his 37-yard line, and we'll get the exact yard mark for you in a moment. So Davison once again with good field position, and as Coach Lori said in the pregame talk, Tom, the importance is to hang on to the football tonight.
Well, hang on to the football, and football is a game of offense, defense, and special teams, and special teams will come into play. Field position resulting from the special teams play will also be important. Right now, from the 33, Davison will have their second opportunity to get something going here. Definitely treacherous out there with the snow all over the place.
Number 16, Aaron Rubio, joins DeLage and Hall in that Davison backfield, and DeLage gets the call, and he cracks out to about the 36-yard line. The line of scrimmage on the second possession. First play for Davison was the 33, so give DeLage 3, set up a 2nd and 7 for the Cards.
Davison, as we saw this year in our coverage of Davison Big 9 Conference football, likes to run and throw the football. Terry Bourdain, one of the favorite receivers for Tim Hentz, he lines up as a tight end in that Davison offense, and he was a second-team all-media pick in the Big 9 Conference.
Terry Bourdain, 6'4", 200 pounds, and getting the call there, I believe, was again DeLage, and DeLage is rung up to dry after another 3-yard gain, and will set up a 3rd and 4.
We'll take a look at the defense for Ann Arbor Pioneer. Stetson, Bradley, Cobb, Mikos, and Large across the front. Turner and Mojileski, the linebackers. Obi Franklin, a first-team All-Stater for Pioneer, along with Palmisano, Lombardi, and Davis.
So we'll keep an eye on Franklin, number 22, the defensive halfback for Pioneer. 5-2-4 defense that Chuck Lowry employs for his Pioneers. On the wishbone, Hentz pitches it, and it's batted away by Pioneer. They come away with a football. Number 99 who fumbles it out of bounds, but he had possession in time for Pioneer. Sean Stetson coming up with a football, and once again Pioneer with great anticipation spreading out that wishbone, and that pitch by Hentz to Roy Hall, swatted it away and picked it up.
Hentz this time really has an opening inside. It looked as though he had an opening. He got hit as soon as he pitched. Correction there. I do stand corrected. That was defense very well by Pioneer that time, and hence just got beat by a good defensive play, and Ann Arbor back with the offense. They'll look to strike quickly if possible.
Great defensive play by Pioneer, causing the second Davison fumble in the first 5 minutes of the contest. Getting the call there was the man who scored the touchdown, Aaron Bailey. This time Bailey encounters quite a bit of early resistance, got a couple, down to the 25-yard line, second down and 8. Pioneer ahead 6-0 early going here on the snow-covered Atwood Stadium artificial turf. 7:30 to play, first period. Mike Gachowski along with Tom Skinner. That single wideout for Pioneer is Virgil Jackson, 21. And the pitch, fumbling the football is Bailey. Ooh, he was just able to corral it in just ahead of one of the Davison Cardinal two-way performers, Roy Hall, the defensive cornerback, number 41.
The football certainly proving early to be very difficult to hold on to. The footing is not very good. In this game, defenses are going to really rule, I believe. You'll see some offense, but when you do see it and you see scoring coming from it, look for it to be big play offense as we saw early from Pioneer. Defenses should dominate a football game like this.
3rd and 10 for Pioneer, back on the 25 of Davison. And Ferrari pitches it once again to Bailey, and Bailey is slapped to the turf by a trio of Cardinals over there, and the Davison fans right down below us cheer mightily. Dennis Schulheis, along with Roy Hall, and number 91, Eric Vickerman, the defensive 180-pounder, all ganging up to take down Bailey, bringing up a 4th and 14 and a loss of 4 there for the Pioneers.
Pioneers will go for it here. Really not much of a chance to make a field goal from here. And so 4th and 14, we'll see if Coach Roy goes to the air. He didn't want to throw really. He'd rather keep the ball on the ground. But he said they would throw possibly to keep the linebackers honest.
Ferrari is going to go to the ground attack, and he's going to give it to the hard-charging Bailey. And Bailey got about 8 yards on the carry, but he's well short of the first down. And Davison comes up big defensively themselves and holds Ann Arbor Pioneer on downs and will take over on their own 20-yard line. So one turnover, the first one damaging to the Cardinals, but the Cardinals managed to rebuff their second turnover and the ensuing offensive attempt by Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Mike, Pioneer in that 52 defense, and you look to that defensive front to be very big, and there's another
fumble the football, and getting it, I believe, was Rob David of the Pioneers. That's who it was. And Davison has fumbled on each of their first 3 possessions. And you have to wonder, for a team that is making its first ever appearance in the state football playoffs, what kind of effect that's going to have on Davison in the final 3.5 quarters here.
Well, the final 3.5 quarters, they might not be looking at the final 3.5 if Davison can't get their offensive football game together here. They have had difficulty and have provided 3 opportunities for Ann Arbor early here.
And they give us to Adam Hinton on the counter play over right guard, cradling the football very carefully with both arms. Got about 4 down to the 24-yard line, 2nd and 6.
This is a time where Davison's defense, a defense that has a couple of fine linebackers, Matt Thomas and Aaron Johnson. In fact, Chuck Lori felt that these 2 linebackers could be the 2 best linebackers, the best pair of linebackers on any team in the state.
Jackson split wide to the right. And once again, it's Hinton. Hinton stays on his feet and looks to have the first down inside the 15-yard line. Adam Hinton goes 5'9", and he's a very stocky 165-pound senior and very tough to bring down, especially on a frigid night like this when your hands are already pretty raw.
Definitely called out there. Some of the players wearing gloves. And in a game like this with the tough field conditions, offensive teams in theory would have the edge with the first step or 2 because they know where they're going. But having to cut back and move laterally one way or the other can be tough. Davison now going to a 6-man front, it looks like. Lone linebacker is Johnson.
Good strong tackle by Roy Hall, single-handedly taking down Aaron Bailey on the outside. And I'll tell you what, the way Bailey's been running, and he looks to have pretty good footing tonight, as evidenced by his 52-yard touchdown gallop earlier to give Ann Arbor Pioneer their only score. If Hall doesn't bring down Bailey, I don't think anybody does around that left corner.
Well, in that six-man front, Johnson got tripped up, the little linebacker, so Hall had to roll up from the cornerback spot and take away that big gain opportunity. And you're right, Mike, without it, as you see a flag thrown, a good shot from our sideline camera there, right on the field. If the cornerback Hall doesn't come up and read that, take that pitch away, it is big game time for the Pioneers.
Offsides against the Pioneers will set them back 5 and set up a 2nd and 15 at the 19-yard line. Con, have you ever played in such adverse and cold weather conditions as this? Tracing back to your high school and college football days at Clio High School, north of Flint and Ferris State, respectively?
Once in high school as a junior, and then once again in college in my freshman year, but never in a game that had as much on the line as this.
Ferrari throws for the first time, and knocking away the pass for Davison was Henry Hahn against Virgil Jackson of Ann Arbor Pioneer, the intended target, and it looked like Hahn may have been pushing off on the play, but the referee right on the spot determined that Hahn was going after the football at the same time. 3rd and 15.
In the games that I had the opportunity to play, both of them were also on natural turf, and so the differences in footing were a bit to the natural turf's advantage, I think.
Ferrari on the draw play, gave it away to Hinton, and Hinton, tough to bring down. Finally, it took huge Terry Verdam with a little bit of help defensively for the Cardinals to snag him and toss him to the turf.
Davison's front line has come back in and taken away 2 straight drive scoring opportunities. 4th down and 11, it would certainly look as though Ann Arbor Pioneer was going to have to go to the air, or would have to go to the air now. On 4th down in their previous possession, the stalled possession, they ran the ball on 4th down with a little bit of a delay. 4th and 11 here.
With 2:34 to play, first period, Pioneers up 6-0 over the Cardinals, and they pitch it to Hinton. Hinton taken down by Terry Verdam. Aaron Johnson, the left side linebacker, number 77. One of those two-way stalwarts for the Cardinals, and once again, the Cardinals bend but do not budge past the goal line, and they take over.
Davison needs a good offensive series here. It's a field position football game, and Davison has not been able to get out of the hole of the tough field position that they've had since the second series. They had pretty good field position on the opening series, but gave it away on the fumble, and have contributed 2 fumbles since.
It's Delage. Delage bucks off one Pioneer and scrambles forward to about the 20-yard line for 5. Bring up 2nd down and a good situation for the Cardinals. Even though Tim Hentz has a fine throwing arm for Davison, coming in with passing statistics of nearly 50% on the season, 70 of 142 for 981 yards and 11 interceptions. I don't expect Davison will throw hardly at all, as little as possible, like Ann Arbor Pioneer.
If their defense can keep them in the football game and allow them to run the football, yes, they will. But Ann Arbor, as you see them stop another running play, Ann Arbor Pioneer has been very stingy as far as giving up yardage on the run. I think that Davison, much to the dismay of the Davison coaching staff, is going to have to go to the air. And right now, with the tough field position, it will be interesting to see if the Cardinals go to the air on 3rd and 5 from their own 20. Clock's running, just about a minute left in the opening quarter. It's been all Ann Arbor Pioneer football game played on the east side of the football field.
3rd and 5. That wind direction right now also favoring the Pioneers, and down goes Roy Hall. Hall just hasn't been able to get started, as Pioneer has his number 41, both left and right. That time it was O.B. Franklin, the All-Stater, coming up from his defensive backfield spot to make the stop.
And Franklin, listed as a monster back, that 52 defense of Ann Arbor Pioneer, with the monster back going to the strong side of the field, gives the linebacker look at times, can also give the safety look as well.
Aaron Johnson doing the punting for Davison. As the good snap, just barely got it away under a fierce Pioneer rush, and it's down about 20 yards upfield by the Cardinals' Shane Miller, number 40. So Ann Arbor Pioneer with the clock stopped at 7 seconds. Let's see if they get another playoff going from west to east here at Atwood Stadium. Almost getting that football on the punt block for Pioneer's punt return team was Steve Lombardi.
Lombardi, a cornerback, plays the wide side cornerback on defense, and Ann Arbor Pioneer has been very tough with their special teams play. They have come up with blocked kicks in 3 straight football games.
Almost made it 4 in a row there, and they still have 3 quarters in which to try it. Clock is stopped on the scoreboard, and the referees belatedly stopped the clock down on the field, signaling the end of the first period here at Atwood Stadium, a very rapid first period, as both teams kept it on the ground except for one pass. Ann Arbor Pioneer, spearheaded by a 52-yard run by Aaron Bailey, 2.5 minutes into the contest, lead at 6-0 over the Davison Cardinals, the champions of the Big 9 Conference in the Flint area.
Mike, let's go down and talk a little bit about the conferences of these two schools. The Big 9 Conference, of course, Beecher, Carmen Ainsworth, Clio, Davison, Flushing, Grand Blanc, Kearsley, Owasso, Powers Catholic, along with Swartz Creek. There you see it on your screen at home. Of note here, Davison with Dick DeLage as Class A Coach of the Year. In Class B from Kearsley, Jack Pratt getting an honorable mention in Coach of the Year voting. And we'll move to the South Central Conference now, the conference in which Ann Arbor Pioneer plays, a 5-team conference. Adrian, Ann Arbor, Huron. The Hurons winning it, the conference this year. Ann Arbor Pioneer, runner-up, losing to Ann Arbor Huron in the final game of regular season. And then Romulus and Ypsilanti rounding out that South Central Conference.
Interesting story in that Huron Pioneer regular season ending contest in the South Central Conference. Hopefully we'll get to that as the broadcast progresses, as there goes Aaron Bailey down the sideline, breaking a couple of tackles, beating Roy Hall into the end zone, touchdown! 32 yards, Aaron Bailey on the opening play of the second period, and Pioneer has extended their lead to 12-0.
Aaron Bailey with his second score of the game. The give off left tackle, bounces off 1-2. A couple of arm tackles, not going to bring Bailey down. Then he dives, makes the big dive for the end zone, and he's in. And the Pioneers with their second score, Coach Chuck Lorei and his staff tickled to death at this point as they have put up 12 points. A touchdown early in the opening quarter, now one just 7 seconds into the second quarter.
And they're going to go for 2 points here. Ferrari with triple wideouts, throwing into the end zone, and the 2-point conversion is indeed successful. Number 16, Sean McCabe, grabbing it.
Last week, Sean McCabe with 3 catches, leading the team in receptions last week. He hauls in the 2-point conversion, and it's 14-0 Ann Arbor Pioneer. Let's watch this again. There you see the lined, snow-covered field. There's the quick throw, and beating double coverage is Sean McCabe as he did the quick out, and it's 14-0 Pioneers. So the trip up from Ann Arbor has been great so far for Chuck Lorei's club.
And the young 16-year-old quarterback, Rob Ferrari, really pegged it in there nice for Pioneer. 14-0 Ann Arbor Pioneer in that Pioneer-Huron regular season finishing game. Ann Arbor Huron winning for only the 3rd time in 20 seasons against Pioneer. The Huron River Rats, they call them, won when Pioneer attempted a game-ending 30-yard field goal by Chris Moore. The kick was no good. Penalty on Ann Arbor Huron. It was moved 5 yards into the 25-yard line. Chris Moore tried another game-winning field goal with a score tied. That kick was blocked with a score knotted at 21. Ann Arbor Pioneer then saw Huron pick the ball up and run 86 yards with it the other way for the game-winning touchdown for the River Rats. What a way to lose it for Pioneer. One of their 2 losses, the other to East Lansing, and there's John DeLodge going, sprinting all the way out to near midfield, and Delage just wanted to keep running with the football, and he was determined not to be brought down.
Mike, we had an opportunity to see Delage run a kickoff back in the final regular season game against Flint Powers, and Delage, after the Chargers had pulled to within a couple on a field goal, took the ensuing kickoff, ran it all the way back, and as we see it on the replay, he had visions of the same result on this kickoff. Following lead blocker Roy Hall, in fact, he had Hall's jersey, had a hold of his jersey, and Hall was kind of pulling him along.
A little bit of drafting there by Roy Hall. I wonder how much Hall is an auto racing fan, or Delage. A couple of yards there by Mr. John Delage up to his 47-yard line, make it 2nd down and 8. Let's see if Davison this time can hang on to the football. They've been burned 3 consecutive times on first quarter possessions, all of their opening quarter possessions, by the fumble bug. Then they punted the 4th time. Play action, Hence looking for the quick toss, intercepted by Kurt Large. Stepping back, picking it off, and Ann Arbor Pioneer has caused their 4th turnover.
Kurt Large lining up as the defensive end, but will drop back, as is evidenced on the occasional pass going to the short side of the field. Hence double pumped through, and Large came up with the interception, and Ann Arbor Pioneer can do no wrong here from Atwood Stadium.
Kurt Large stepping in front of the intended receiver, Terry Bergan, and Ann Arbor Pioneer once again starting in Davison territory at the Cardinal 35. Man in motion, and Ferrari hands it off to Hinton. Hinton spins down to the 40-yard line. Pick up a 4, let's say, 2nd and 6 for Pioneer.
This is a gut check time for Davison's defense. They've got to come up with a big play. Both teams have shown they'll have difficulty holding on to the football. Davison a little bit more early on here. And Davison's defense, which has been tough all year, toughest in the Big 9 Conference, allowing only 10.3 points per game, is being tested very much right now. They'll have to draw the line if they'll stay in the football game.
2nd and 6. And Bailey gets the call, and Bailey falls forward to about the 37-yard line. That time, Davison bottled him up pretty good. Aaron Johnson at the bottom of the pile, 5'11", 200-pound senior.
Aaron Johnson beating a double-team block as he stepped up to take away that inside running lane. Johnson, an all-stater for the Cardinals. Also, Big 9 Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And he is going to have to circle the wagons, help circle the defensive wagons for the Cardinals.
Leading tackler also for Davison, Aaron Johnson, with 128 tackles, 66 of them solo. And there goes Hinton this time, down the right sideline. And it took a tackle by Davison's number 38, Henry Hahn, to keep Hinton from sprinting into the end zone for a 3rd Pioneer touchdown.
Hinton this time with a chance to show his stuff, following the block of Bailey, and finally hauled down by Hahn, but not before he picked up 20 yards on the run, putting the ball on the 17-yard line of the Cardinals.
1st and 10 from there for Pioneer on the move, looking to pad their already big, given the field and weather conditions, 14-0 advantage. That time it was Hinton, and Hinton was blasted upstairs, downstairs, and in the middle by a trio of Cardinals shortly after he crossed the line of scrimmage. Well, they were all there, and they were ready for him for Davison.
And the ball was not loose, but was out there for the taking, and the Cardinals just couldn't wrestle it free until after Hinton had hit the turf of Atwood Stadium.
2nd and 10. Ball marked at the 20-yard line, let's call it. And the pitch goes to Hinton. Hinton cutting it inside. Gets swallowed up from behind by a couple of Cardinals, but not before Hinton got down to about the 15-yard line. That time it was Andy Montpass and Brian Kotz combining on the Davison stop.
This is the first drive sustained by a series of runs beginning near midfield. The other scoring drives by Ann Arbor coming on long runs.
Virgil Jackson wide to the left, and Ferrari hands it once again to Hinton. Hinton breaking away, streaking through the middle, touchdown! Standing up. And Pioneer leads it 20-0 with 7:40 still to play in the second quarter.
The Cardinals now a very down football team. They're very shocked by what's happened. We see again Hinton with a big play, bouncing off a tackle, breaks back inside and sprinting for the end zone. And the Cardinals have not seen a team be able to do this on their defense all year. Dick Delage's team has controlled most football games. The lone loss to Midland in their season opener.
Moore will try the single-point conversion, and it's good, and Pioneer tacks on a point for a 21-0 lead, with still half of the second period to play. Well, you have to figure Davison does have a couple of breakaway threats in their backfield, and Hall and John Delage. As easily as Pioneer has been able to break off some long runs tonight, so can Davison.
Well, I think so, and I agree, Mike. But also when you take into consideration that field position will play a vital role in tonight's game, even though we have a 21-0 lead for Ann Arbor Pioneer, the frustrations and difficulties that the Davison offense has experienced can quickly be turned around, and Ann Arbor Pioneer can see that happen because they're playing under the same difficult conditions, and that is, turnabout is going to be fair play quite possibly. But right now, the key is going to become, even more importantly, is going to become special teams play as well as field position. Those two are going to go hand in hand. Return yardage will be very important. We saw Davison with a good return last time. Delage with a good return following the block of Hall and a few others. They've not been without their good opportunities.
Unfortunately, the Cardinals have just not found the cure for the turnovers, and that ball is free, and Roy Hall has to dive on the football at about the 8-yard line, as that football just spun away from him and got an Ann Arbor Pioneer bounce down to the far side of the field, and Hall just barely beat a scrambling Pioneer man on the kickoff to give the ball to Davison. But as you talk about good field position versus poor, Davison is in a very tough spot here.
Well, Mike, and looking at both teams' rosters, I don't see anybody named Murphy on the Cardinals team, but Murphy's Law has certainly come into play tonight. Whatever could go wrong has gone wrong, and the Cardinals with a deep hole to come out of.
And Hall knocked to the turf at about the line of scrimmage. A good thigh-high tackle by Obi Franklin. 2nd down and 8. They gave Hall up to the 10-yard line. When you talked about Murphy, I thought you were talking about Joe Murphy.
Joe
Davison could certainly use somebody who's very adept on skates tonight.
Joe Murphy, of course, Red Wings rookie.
Fine young winger. 2nd and 8. Out of the wishbone, Hentz pitches it back to Delage. Delage with 3-4 blockers in front of him, just can't get going. Pioneer managed to hit the seams collectively extremely well, and it was George Mikos along with Kurt Large making the stop. 3rd and 7 for Pioneer with 6:30 to play, second period, and Davison, the winners of the Big 9 Conference and a team that has not lost since early September, reeling off 10 consecutive wins coming into tonight's bowl game, finding themselves being pasted so far to the tune of 21-0. Single wideout over there for Davison on the far side. That's Jeff Christensen, the split end, and they gave it off inside to Roy Hall. Fumble, and Pioneer has it. The 5th turnover, I believe it was Delage who was carrying the football, and he just lost the handle. Pioneer comes up with it, and once again, Davison gives the ball away in very harrowing position for themselves.
On the replay, you see Delage look for it. He slipped. And Mike, I don't know if he got the ball at all. He slipped as soon as, and I don't know if we can see that replay again after this play, but he slipped as he made a move towards the line of scrimmage, and I believe he didn't even get the football in his hands before it squirted free, and Ann Arbor Pioneer jumped on it. Johnny on the spot says they have been tonight.
Hinton with a big hole, cuts it inside, breaks a tackle, flies into the end zone, touchdown! Clinton on the first play after Pioneer forced Davison into their fifth first half miscue. Takes the pitch and rumbles into the end zone from 14 yards away, and Pioneer leads it 27-0.
Mike, let's take a look at the replay that I'd asked for earlier. We had a chance to see it once. As soon as Hall moves, you see he slips, and the ball squirts free, and Ann Arbor Pioneer coming up as they have been in the right place at the right time. As we see more on the conversion attempt, and it looks good, splits the uprights, and it's 28-0, 5:39 left in the opening half.
Let's give credit also to the Pioneer holder there. That's got to be tough, especially coming in cold, and we mean cold tonight when we say that. Sterling Olson off the bench. Last couple of times, perfect holds, and Moore has converted nicely for Pioneer. 28-0 now, the Pioneers over the Cards.
Like UPI All-Staters in tonight's contest, Aaron Johnson from Davison and Rich Lauren from Davison. Lauren, the offensive guard, fine offensive guard. Obie Franklin, as mentioned, the Ann Arbor Pioneer All-Stater. Coach Dick DeLage, the Davison head coach, the All-State Coach of the Year, Class A. Others from Ann Arbor, from both conferences, Ann Arbor Hurons, Todd Harris, who played against Ann Arbor Pioneer, was a second team mention on the All-State team. And special mention, Kit Dickinson for Ann Arbor Pioneer, who played the first 9 games for Coach Chuck Lorai's club. And he was an honorable mention, All-Stater.
A long list, and certainly both the Pioneers and the Cardinals well represented on the Class A All-State team. As we see Roy Hall turning away from an ankle tackle and finally stumbling out of bounds on the far sideline. Up around this 25-yard line or so. Let's see where they exactly spot it with 5:34 to go. Davison will try and pick up the pieces here and try and jockey back into this ball game. Still plenty of time. Of course, we're still in the first half, but Davison finds themselves on the short end of a 28-0 count. From the 30. Davison's going to spread it out now. 4 receivers, single setback. And Hentz is going to throw. Oh, almost intercepted, as it was the All-Stater, Obie Franklin, moving in front of Jeff Christensen for the football. 2nd and 10.
You'll see Hentz now go to the pump fake with the passing game. They'll have to go to the pump fake, I believe, to try to force the defense to commit. Even in a one-step or a step-and-a-half commit, they will have an opportunity to keep them off balance enough to give the offensive receivers, the receivers for the Cardinals, a chance to get to the open area. Ann Arbor Pioneer going man-to-man coverage out there, and again, double wide, Mike.
And Hentz drops back. Plenty of time, wings it out there, waiting for the football, and he had it in his hands and dropped it. Was Steve Lombardi waiting back there as the center fielder / cornerback. Pass intended for Aaron Rubio out there, and once again, Pioneer came oh so close to an unprecedented 6th turnover here in the first half.
Aaron Rubio, 20 receptions on the season for 241 yards, a little over 12 yards a catch. He's a big play performer, had a touchdown, punt return on a touchdown last week against Saginaw Arthur Hill, the lone scorer in that football game.
They spread out their receiving pretty well. Jeff Christensen right behind with 19 grabs for Davison, and Hentz simply way overthrew his intended target along the far side there that time, Henry Hahn. And it will bring up 4th and 10 for Davison, and they're going to have to boot the ball back to Ann Arbor Pioneer, who has shown themselves very proficient in breaking long runs on practically every scrimmage possession.
Davison right now, Hentz still in the football game, and look for a fake here, although they might have Hentz in right now to use later so that the Pioneers will get used to seeing number 11 out there. It is a fake.
Hentz throws deep, and interference will be called as Christensen went for the football, and Aaron Bailey, who was waiting as the deep man on the punt return for Ann Arbor Pioneer, came over and really smacked him just as the ball was sailing over Christensen's head. So that gives Davison a big break, as Christensen had no chance of catching that pass.
Now, that's the key in pro football, Mike. No chance to catch it. The only penalty that might come out of that play would be unsportsmanlike conduct or unnecessary roughness. But in high school football, that will be interference. And Davison with a chance. They get a break, and Chuck Lorei talked about it before tonight's football game. Penalties are going to have to be kept at a minimum. At that time, they keep the Davison alive as the Pioneers with a mental mistake.
And the way things have been going for the shaken Cardinals, they'll take any break, and there's another one that they make for themselves. Aaron Rubio cradling the toss from the quarterback Hentz and getting a first down, and the yard markers move up on the 15-yard completion from Hentz to Rubio. Down to the 45-yard line of Pioneer, 1st and 10 for Davison, and I believe that those are the first 2 first downs for the Cardinals tonight.
You are correct on that, Mike, and 4:55 left. You would not have thought prior to tonight's game that the initial first downs would come well into the second quarter for the Cardinals.
Not from the Cardinals, and almost intercepted. O.B. Franklin really had his eyes like saucers on that football, but unfortunately his hands did not cooperate.
He's sure showing why he's an All-State candidate and was named to the All-State team. Around the football a lot. I'm a little bit surprised that Davison is throwing in his direction.
I am too.
At least at this point, after they've seen how well he's covered pass early.
4:47 to play, second quarter. Davison trying to launch a drive. 2nd and 10 on the Pioneers' 45-yard line. Once again, 4 wide routes with Jagolaj back as the lone setback, and dropping the football out there was Henry Hahn. 3rd and 10, that was a catchable pass. Made, of course, quite a bit tougher by the weather circumstances.
And Mike, a quick note here. They're throwing to Aaron Rubio when they're throwing in his direction, and Rubio Jr. is getting that all-state coverage, showing the respect that Coach Chuck Lorei has for the junior receiver for Davison. And Rubio with his work cut out for him and getting free from O.B. Franklin tonight.
3rd and 10, Davison from the Pioneers' 45. The protection is always solid. Throwing in the seam and looking for the interference call, but not getting it. The Cardinals, as M.H.A.A. was racked up just as the ball flew past, and Pioneer gets the 4th down that they want.
On the replay, you see mild pressure, not much there as far as forcing a quick pass and then the throw. Hentz had really a lot of time to throw back there and couldn't find the receiver. 4th down and 10 now. Second 4th down situation on this drive.
And Davison will make no pretenses about punting. They're going to go for it. Christensen split to the left. 4 wideouts. Hentz throws, and he threw while on his heels and just didn't get enough on the football toward Jeff Christensen, and Ann Arbor Pioneer takes over on downs. It was a shame. Christensen was open, and he would have been very near a Davison first down had the ball got to him.
Cardinals now defensively. They have not been able to stop Ann Arbor Pioneer yet. Pioneer has moved the ball pretty much at will and stayed away from the turnovers. Although they have fumbled the ball a couple of times, they've stayed away from the turnovers much better than the Cardinals to this point in the ball game. The Cardinals defense now, a little bit of pressure on them to force some things, provide some opportunities for the Davison Cardinal offense.
Oh, I really feel that Davison needs a score. Just as a confidence builder, Ferrari fumbled the football on the center snap, and the Cardinals have it. This time, Davison gets the benefit of a turnover, as falling on the football was Dave Elizondo, the 5'11", 190-pound senior for the Cards.
Well, as we talked about the need for a big play in Davison's favor, it happens. The Pioneers not necessarily willingly cooperating like that, but in this situation, 4.5 minutes clock running now. Davison with a chance, with good field position, an opportunity to go down and put some points on the board.
Now the Pioneer poise is tested as Hentz stumbles, throws deep for Rubio, picked off by Rob David. David still on his feet, struggling, and finally it took more than half of the offensive crew of the Cardinals to bash him down at about the 20-yard line.
Mike, there are 2 flags on the play, and this is going to come back, I think, because one of the flags will go against Ann Arbor Pioneer. The other, I believe, will go against Davison. We'll take a look at it again. You might see the flag in the bottom right part of your screen go up. No, it's a little bit too close to the sideline. There's the throw and the interception. The question here, as you see the first pop put on by Christensen, and then it does take a whole bunch of Cardinals to bring him down, as Rob Davis does not want to go down on his own.
No, he sure did not. Note that Rubio had quadruple coverage back there on him. I mean, he was... Hence was throwing into a sea of white, not only the snow, but also the white jerseys of Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Now, Mike, what will happen now with the penalties is this. The first penalty was against Davison. It was an illegal motion. The second penalty came after the change of possession on the interception. I believe it would be an unsportsmanlike 15-yard penalty, but in lieu of the fact that the Pioneers are inside the 30-yard line, it will be half the distance to the goal line against the Pioneers. So the change of possession will stand, but instead of the pretty good field position out around the 25, 28-yard line, Ann Arbor Pioneer will start from their own 5. And this might be a break, actually, for Davison, as Davison will have a chance to see if their defense can come up with a big turnover opportunity with the ball deep in Pioneer territory.
Exactly. The all-important field position now belongs to Davison, as knifing over his right guard and tackle was Bailey out to about the 8-yard line. Very important, I would think, for Lowry and the Pioneers to pick up a first down here. Not only to get a little bit of extra breathing space, but also to run some valuable time off the first half clock, which shows 3:24 to play before halftime.
I don't think you'll see the ball go to the air at all during this possession for Ann Arbor Pioneer. Chuck Lawry's got a 28-0 lead, and you're right, a first down will do here for the Pioneers.
Not by any design of the Pioneer offense, as the penalty flags go up all over the place, and it looked like it was a little premature motion on the part of the left side offensive end for Pioneer.
The 2 players in motion, and then the move by the tight end on that left side. Dead ball foul. That's why the play did not follow through. We'll take a look at it again. The top right of your screen, you'll watch number 88, and he'll jump right there. Dead ball call before the snap of the football, so the play doesn't get a chance to start, and it'll be half the distance, goes back to about the 4-yard line. The Pioneers now with 2nd down and 11.
The irony of all the turnovers Davison has had already tonight, 6 of them, 4 fumbles and 2 INTs, I don't think they've had a penalty called against them. Not any that at least Pioneer has taken so far tonight. That's Hinton, and Hinton dragged down short of the 10-yard line at about the 8, and that's going to bring up 3rd down and about 8 yards to go for Ann Arbor Pioneer. Member of the South Central Conference, a conference that they've dominated the last several years under Coach Chuck Lowry, who is one of the finest high school football coaches in the state of Michigan at the varsity level. And his counterpart, Dick DeLage, in his 2nd year, quickly establishing himself as one of the bright, young, up-and-coming varsity head football coaches in Michigan high school. They give on the right side to Bailey, and Bailey is slapped down right at about the line of scrimmage. Picking himself up is Aaron Johnson, as always. Normally, if you have an outstanding defensive play by Davison, you can usually count Aaron Johnson as being in on it, and Davison will call their first time out of the half at exactly the 2-minute mark of the 2nd quarter in anticipation of getting the football in outstanding field shape, Tom.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised right now if we see a punt block attempt from Davison. But in fact, a couple of things won't surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised if Chuck Lowry takes a safety here. This is a situation where they don't want to give up the football. Crazier things have happened. A touchdown here would give Davison a little bit of impetus to going into the second half. You don't see him take a safety.
Especially leading 28-0.
Certainly. And at the same time, you look for Davison maybe to try something different. They're going to set up a punt return, and you have to come up with a good effort from the special teams there. or look for a punt block attempt. Davison right now is in a situation where they need points. They almost need a score going into halftime to be able to come back out and still have a chance.
Right now, as you look at your screen, Davison is setting up for the punt return. They've got 3 players back, which will set a wedge. Roy Hall along with a couple of teammates. Well, now they're coming in for the block. 9 men coming up. And Kurt Large will try and get it away, standing about 3 yards deep in his end zone. Davison showing block with Rubio as the deep man. And Large got it away, and Rubio's going to have a chance to return this one. Watch out, Aaron Rubio, and he's collared as he got 2 or 3 yards toward the Pioneer goal line. Still, Davison will have good field position, and we'll wait for the ball to be spotted as to the exact yard line, and credit Kurt Large of the Pioneers for an outstanding punt there under some pretty tough circumstances. The wind against him, along with a whole sea of Cardinals coming at him on the punt return team. And 44 to play. Davison on the 33-yard line of the Pioneers, and Hentz throws. Quick 3-step drop, and he throws out of bounds with it is Jeff Christensen, wide open on the quick down and out. Stopping the clock with 1:37 to play.
Cardinals with a chance here with the good field position to put points on the board. They need, I think, a touchdown, Mike, here, or at least a good opportunity to score to give them a feel that they can move the football against the Pioneers.
Shane Miller is wide right. Schultheis in the slot, and they give it inside to 11 to go. Ann Arbor Pioneer trouncing the Cardinals of Davison, the Big 9 Conference football champions in the Flint area right now, 28-0, but the Cardinals on the march. 1st and 10 at the Pioneers' 20-yard line. Single setback, and the quarterback Tim Hentz throws in the seam, picked off. Number 50, Kevin Mogileski, out of bounds on the near sideline with the 7th Davison turnover of the first half, and once again, a Davison offensive threat is snuffed out by their own doing.
It hurts for Tim Hentz right now because he has come back from a shaky opening game where he had to come in, step into the shoes left by Todd Swinehart as Todd went down with an injury, a season-ending injury for all intents and purposes, and Hentz came in and struggled against Midland. Midland winning that ball game 14-0. But since Tim Hentz has been very good, you've not seen Tim Hentz struggle much at all. He's completed nearly 50% of his passes for almost 1,000 yards. But tonight, it certainly has not been his night, as well as the difficulties the rest of his offense is having. 7 turnovers, and the Cardinals right now really need this break at halftime to go in, and the coaches have to rebuild the confidence that they had helped develop this week in practice. The Cardinals looking at a 28-0 lead, and they have to realize they can't get it all back in a hurry in that second half. They've got to take it one possession at a time, and the road's going to be a difficult one.
Well, it certainly is. It's not as easy as M15 down I-75, certainly at this point. Tom, we've
taking the back roads from here. We're taking the back roads from here.
A lot of real tough, bumpy back roads. We've seen Davison play 2 or 3 times at least during the course of the regular season, 3 to be exact. Thank you very much, John Gartland. Anyway, Davison we've seen play very well. At times, exceptional football. This is not a Davison team we're used to seeing. How much can we attribute that to the adverse weather conditions, and how much simply to the nervousness of playing a very large team from Ann Arbor Pioneer in a very big football game with big implications, the state semifinals of Class A.
Well, Mike, I think the weather plays a lot. As we see Ann Arbor Pioneer, they'll try to just run the football out here as Elizondo, number 79, puts the stop on the ball carrier. But you'll see, I believe you'll see Davison come back in the second half. They have struggled because their offense, I think, it was taken away from them to some extent, or at least the idea that their offense, the passing game, was taken away when they saw the snow. And that's a big part of their football game. They've been able to mix the run and the pass well, and I think early they were concerned what would happen if they fell behind, because the passing game would be much more difficult to be successful with because of the weather conditions. but you've got to overcome those difficulties. The conditions are the same for both teams, although Ann Arbor Pioneer, now a running football team, as the whistle sounds, the flag, the delay of game will be marched off against Ann Arbor Pioneer. Just 18 ticks left on the clock here in the second quarter, but Ann Arbor Pioneer has been able to make that mental adjustment from a passing and running attack to just a running game for the most part, with the loss of 2 quarterbacks and number 3 quarterback Rob Ferrari in there. Their whole mental approach to the offense changed with the loss of those quarterbacks, from the passing game that they could go to, and as well as the run, to the idea that the running game was the main focus of their offense. And Davison hasn't had that luxury. Instead of being able to get mentally adjusted to the change in the game plan over a couple of weeks, they've had to do it all in the first half. And I guess a point in fact, they've had to get that adjustment made in a matter of a few minutes, and they've not been able to do it well yet.
That's going to be the last play of the first half, as Davison was trying to wrench the ball out of Aaron Bailey's hands on that last scrimmage play. Wasn't able to do so, and Pioneer did what they wanted to do, simply hang on to the football and run out the remaining time on the first half clock, and the teams will go back and, certainly for Davison, regroup in their respective locker room for the second half. Our halftime score, Ann Arbor Pioneer jetting out to a 28-0 halftime lead, getting a 14-0 lead on the first play of the second period, and then extending that out with 2 more scores. The Pioneers of Ann Arbor Pioneer 28, the Cardinals of Davison 0 at halftime. We'll be back with more from tonight's game on the snow-covered Atwood Stadium field in Flint. Mike Gutowski along with Tom Skinner in a moment. Back here at Flint's Atwood Stadium, a very frigid Friday evening, the only state high school football playoff semifinal going on, as all of the other state high school semifinals in all classes will be played tomorrow afternoon at 1:30. Talking to you on this Friday evening, November 20th, Mike Gutowski along with Tom Skinner, and it was a half dominated by Ann Arbor Pioneer. The Pioneers showing why they have been one of the top Class A high school football teams of the decade, and stomping out to a 28-0 halftime lead over the Davison Cardinals, who proved themselves the best team in the mid-Michigan area, the Flint, Midland, Saginaw area, by winning the Big 9 conference in the regular season, and then gaining revenge on their only loss of the year, an opening game loss to Midland, by defeating Midland at Midland in their first playoff game, 21-14, and then in the second round, defeating the next best team in the Saginaw Valley Athletic Conference, Saginaw Arthur Hill, 7-0. So Davison certainly deserves to be here and is very worthy. However, the turnover bug really nailed them hard. Davison turning the ball over 7 times in that first half, and giving Ann Arbor Pioneer plenty of opportunities to capitalize, and the Pioneers of Coach Chuck Lowry made the most of their chances en route to their 28-0 halftime gap over the Cardinals, Tom.
Well, Mike, you hear it in football circles, basketball circles, whatever the sport, when you give good football teams or give good teams opportunities because of your mistakes, you're going to have a tough time winning. And that certainly has been the case here in the opening half. The Davison Cardinals, champions of the Big 9 Conference and winners of 2 postseason playoff games, have struggled, to say the least. 7 turnovers, and the field conditions have seemingly bitten them, and only them out here, as Ann Arbor Pioneer has been able to capitalize on each of the turnovers and has scored 28 points in the opening half. Ann Arbor Pioneer has had a difficult road along the way, losing their opener before tacking on 7 straight, and then losing their final contest of the regular season 2 quarterbacks along the way. They were working with their third-string quarterback. And it seems as though if there's a team of destiny, maybe it's Ann Arbor Pioneer. They've had to overcome a blocked field goal that they were going for to win the football game in week number 9 of the regular season. A field goal attempt that, with it being blocked, was turned into a game-winning touchdown for Ann Arbor Huron.
A loss that almost cost Ann Arbor Pioneer a state playoff berth. They may not have even had a chance as Pioneer comes out onto the field for the second half, just 2 quarters away from the state championship contest against the winner of the Birmingham Brother Rice Redford Catholic Central contest tomorrow afternoon on Saturday. Had it not been for the computer system and the computer points, they would not have had a chance to beat Novi, to beat East Lansing, and then to come into tonight's contest and play the Davison Cardinals.
So it would seem to be a situation where Ann Arbor Pioneer is taking advantage of every opportunity, every second chance. In fact, you'd think that they were capped with the number of lives they've been able to relive, I guess you could say. And Chuck Lorai's club, 28-0 leaders here at halftime as we prepare for the second half. And Dick DeLive's club, the Davison Cardinals, looking at a 28-0 deficit. They have not seen a football team score 28 points on them the entire year, and the Pioneers have come in and scored it in the first 2 quarters.
That's right. In fact, nobody has scored, Graham Blank in the second game of the regular season for Davison scored the most points against the Cardinals, and that was 21. And we know that Graham Blank had one of the finest offenses in the state of Michigan this season. So certainly that Davison defense, an extremely potent one, and they allowed a couple of long touchdown runs at the start that really set them back. And I thought offensively they lost a lot of confidence right from the get-go by losing the football on running plays on their first 3 possessions, Tom.
Well, I agree, Mike, and it was especially frustrating because they knew that with the field and the weather conditions that they were going to have to rely more on their run instead of being able to mix the run and the pass. And by fumbling the first 3 times, that really had to give them a snake-bitten feeling out there. And Ann Arbor Pioneer has taken full advantage of all the opportunities presented to them. Mike, let's take a quick look at the other players in the respective conferences who have gained all-state recognition. We've already mentioned Aaron Johnson, Rich Lauren, and Obi Franklin. Johnson and Lauren from Davison and Franklin from Ann Arbor Pioneer. And Dick DeLage, Coach of the Year in the Class A ranks from Davison. Looking at other players around the Big 9 Conference, first of all, Courtney Hawkins, Jeff Arrowwood, and Mark Velarde, all first-teamers on the Class A team, and they are from the Big 9 Conference.
Hawkins, a running back from Beecher, Arrowwood, the fine wide receiver from Graham Blank, and the quarterback of Graham Blank, Velarde.
Arrowwood, the Offensive Player of the Year in the Big 9 Conference this year. Todd Harris from Ann Arbor Huron, a linebacker for the River Rats, 6'1", 197-pounder, was a first-team All-Stater from Ann Arbor Huron. Also garnering attention, as mentioned, Kit Dickinson, the original starting quarterback from Pioneer. He was an honorable mention, second-team special mention for the Class A team. Coach Jack Pratt of Kearsley from the Big 9 Conference, a special recognition coach on the All-State team. Mike Oswald and Kelly True from Kearsley on the Class B second team. Ernest Stewart from Beecher on the Class B second team from the Big 9 Conference. Also Troy Hiblin from the Big 9 from Carmen Ainsworth. Chucky Phillips, a running back from Ann Arbor Huron of the South Central Conference, and Fernando Peters, also mentioned, Fernando from Ypsilanti of that South Central Conference, and finally Tom Wilson from Ann Arbor Huron, the coach, special mention from that South Central Conference.
Ann Arbor Pioneer, 24 minutes from the state championship playoff game for the Class A title in Michigan. Kicking off Sean McCabe and running it back Roy Hall to about the 25-yard line, and with the yard markers completely obliterated here on the snow-covered field of Flint Atwood Stadium and the artificial playing surface. We'll wait for the scoreboard, and they're at the 30-yard line instead of the 25, and we'll get that offense of Davison for you. Here in the second half, Tim Hentz is the quarterback, and Coach Dick DeLage across the way for the Cardinals, not wasting any time. He's showing pass, and back goes Hentz, and he throws it out on the side, and it's caught for a 5-yard gain. Falling down, but with great concentration, staying with the football was done at Schultheis.
Schultheis, a two-way performer, can play on both sides of the football, and we'll check that offensive lineup for the Cardinals. Hence, the quarterback. We'll check it following this play as the Cards break the huddle and come up to the line of scrimmage.
The lone man in the backfield behind Hentz is John DeLage in the 4-point stance. 4 wide receivers, including Aaron Rubio and Jeff Christensen on the left side, and some movement in the middle of the line, and let's see which way it goes. There's the offense. The split end is Jeff Christensen. The tackles are Matt Thomas and Brannon. The guards, Lauren and Godfrey. Lauren, of course, a standout. Aaron Johnson, the center. He's a great one. The tight end, Terry Burdan, and then the backfield, Hentz, DeLage, Hall, and Aaron Rubio, number 16. Watch out for him. He needs to have a great second half for Davison to get back in this football game, down 28-0. Hentz fires it way over the head of Jeff Christensen on the near sideline. Coming over to defend on the play, the All-Stater Obi Franklin, the monster back for Ann Arbor Pioneers. Brings up a 2nd and 10. Davison on their own 40-yard line with 10:41 to play, third quarter.
Davison getting that first down with the 5-yard walk-off against Ann Arbor Pioneer and coming back with the incomplete pass. You'll see the throw from first down the rest of the way. They'll run the ball occasionally, Mike, but until they get back in it, you'll see the air ball, the throw from Hentz most of the time.
Hentz throws, and Christensen had it in his hands, but it simply was too hard for him to handle, incomplete.
Mike, with the weather conditions, it puts a lot more pressure on the receivers and the quarterback. And what happens is that you can't catch the ball with the hands because your hands are so cold. The gloves can help to some extent, but there's no getting around the cold temperatures, the crispness. Your fingers are sore, and you're going to have to throw the ball on the numbers so they can use their body to catch the football more than with the hands, which you normally will coach as far as technique is concerned.
3rd and 10 from the 40. Pioneer with that 5-2. No! Plowed under was Hentz by Kevin Modulewski. Linebacker blitzing in untouched. And oh, is he ever slapping palms on the Ann Arbor Pioneer defensive side.
We'll take a look at it again. Modulewski and the blitz comes through. There you see, he doesn't even get touched, and he delivered the Woody that time, and Hentz paid the price.
Loss of 7 yards, and Davison will punt, saddled with a 4th and 17. Getting away, Aaron Johnson, penalty flag on the play. Aaron Bailey watches it drop down and trickle down to a halt well into Ann Arbor Pioneer territory. Now let's see what the yellow flag dropped down on the near sideline is all about. Procedure against Pioneer. So let's see if Davison will accept the penalty or not. Here with 9:52 to play in the third quarter. We should reiterate these weather circumstances for you again. At game time, which was about, close to an hour and a half ago, temperature in the mid-20s, winds coming out of the northwest, gusting up to 28 miles an hour, bringing that wind chill factor very much into play, down to about 0 degrees. That's what everybody, players, coaches, and fans, us included here at Comcast Cablevision, even though we're inside, have to put up with tonight. It reminds me, of course I wasn't there, of that Snow Bowl at Michigan-Ohio State contest down in Columbus, 1951. Well, just reading about it, that's what I imagine, and it's certainly coming larger than life to us here this evening in late November in Flint, Michigan.
Well, Mike, as we see the Cardinals calling timeout, they're minus a player that's necessary on that punt team. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, as the playoffs wind down, an exciting series of playoffs in all classes. They couldn't have picked better weather for last Saturday's football game here at Atwood Stadium. Had an opportunity to come down here and watch the Cardinals and Saginaw Arthur Hill, the lumbermen from Saginaw Arthur Hill, tangle in a game that turned out to be a defensive gem. Beautiful weather, mid-40s to high 40s, sunshine. You couldn't ask for better November weather. And the Cardinals held on to win 7-0 with 2 goal line stands coming into play in the final 3 minutes of play. In fact, the final play of the game from about the 3-yard line, Davison's own 3-yard line. But tonight, the Michigan High School Athletic Association could do nothing, right? They didn't have a chance at putting together good weather here. As old man Winter said, no way. We don't care about your playoffs. We're going to strike here. And it's been difficult for both teams. But the Ann Arbor Pioneers have played good football. The Cardinals have struggled, the Cardinals from Davison.
And Coach Chuck Lowry of Ann Arbor Pioneer instructing Aaron Bailey to get nowhere near the football and take no unnecessary chances of trying to grab the football in this kind of inclement, very cold weather. Lets the ball drop down and roll out of bounds. And Pioneer will have it on their first try in the second half.
Coach Chuck Lowry, not a newcomer to the Michigan High School Athletic Association football playoffs. As mentioned, Mike, 4 years now in a row, and they are showing that playoff experience is very important, even as we watch third-string quarterback Rob Ferrari lead the show. And there goes
Bailey on the run, one man to beat the Lodge, and he breaks away from the Lodge. Touchdown, 63 yards, Aaron Bailey, his third running touchdown of the evening. Oh, he has had quite a night for Ann Arbor Pioneer, and they lead it now 34-0.
Mike, with the big run by Bailey, as we have seen him, it's been the Aaron Bailey show tonight, along with Adam Hinton in a supporting role. We'll watch it again. The quick inside move following the lead block of Hinton, it looked like, and then Bailey coasting for 6 and a 34-0 lead for the Pioneers. And now the conversion attempt by Moore. It's good.
Hold down nicely by Olson, and Moore sails it through, and it's 35-0 Ann Arbor Pioneer with 9:18 to play in the third period.
Mike, and following through, you got a feel for Ferrari. Rob Ferrari, here the young fella, he's a junior, just 16 years old, thrust into this situation a couple of games ago. Third-string quarterback becomes first-string quarterback, and the male version of the Cinderella story is certainly coming true. No pumpkins showing up here at Atwood Stadium tonight, as Ferrari and his team 34 now 35-0 with their lead. 9:18 left to play. What a great story for Rob Ferrari.
Well, it's well before midnight.
Certainly is, and the game will end well before midnight. But Rob Ferrari, you got a feel for the young man. He's down there in the football field, living what for many, many young football players is a dream. And the dream coming true in the 1987 Michigan High School Athletic Association Class A playoffs, as Ann Arbor Pioneer, seemingly, barring a miracle finish for the Cardinals, seemingly on their way to a Class A title tilt at the Silverdome. And what a super last couple games for Ferrari. The dreams come true, and one more dream left for him and his teammates next weekend, Thanksgiving weekend.
The offense under Ferrari sputtered, but he mustered enough offense to beat East Lansing last week in his first start, 14-3, and tonight the Ann Arbor Pioneer offense under his direction has been running extremely smoothly on all cylinders, and really all Ferrari has had to do is hand the football off to the likes of Bailey and Hinton, and behind the stalwart offensive line blocking of the Pioneers and the outstanding running of that tandem, the Pioneers have been on their way. Ball comes down finally to Roy Hall. Hall sprinting through, trying to break away, does so from one man, finally clipped down by Ann Arbor Pioneers' Kurt Large, but not before Roy Hall got himself an excellent return down his own sideline near midfield, and Davison will have good field position, and let's see if they can start knifing into the score now.
Hall with a chance here to break it away. Good kick coverage by the safeties, as Hall split the initial coverage team down, finally brought down. He shakes a high tackle there, and there you see number 56 coming over to make the big play.
Kurt Large.
large defensive end, plays on that special team as well.
John DeLodge with a carry there, got but a yard against a very unyielding Pioneer defense so far tonight. 2nd and 9 with less than 9 minutes to play in the third quarter. And Davison was forced to shell their vaunted wishbone offense very early tonight and go with a 4 wide receiver attack. It has worked well in spots, but Davison has not been able to move the ball all the way and cash in so far. That pass batted down. It was either number 84, George Michaels, or Mike Towler, the defensive tackle, who swatted down Hentz's pass over toward the far sideline, 3rd and 9.
The Pioneers, following the change of possession, should there be a change of possession, we'll take a look at the Pioneers' regular season road that they had to hoe en route to postseason play. It's 3rd down and 9.
Christensen and Rubio are split out to the left. Burdan and I believe Schultheis out to the right. And it's a quarterback draw. And getting a couple of very tough yards was Tim Hentz. It'll be 4th down and about 7 for Davison.
Well, before the punt, let's take a look at it. East Lansing dealing Ann Arbor Pioneer an early season loss in the opener. The Pioneers came back to roll over Romulus, though. Edged Redford and Catholic Central 7-2 before continuing their string against Cooley, Detroit Cooley, Pontiac Northern, Adrian, Ypsilanti, Brighton, and then finally that regular season-ending loss to Ann Arbor Huron 27-21.
Hence, fires far sideline. Schultheis had it in his hands for a moment, but then he was smacked over there by Kurt Large, and Schultheis couldn't hang on, and Pioneer will take over on downs on the 48-yard line.
Pioneers in a prevent defense, rushing 3, occasionally 4, and occasionally yet again they'll bring a linebacker, but for the most part they're able to sit back, Mike, with a big lead, 35-0. The pressure is on Davison to come up with something, and so Chuck Lorai's club has been able to just sit back a little bit, and that time Large, who has played defensive end, dropping back and taking away that Schultheis opportunity as he popped Schultheis.
Blitz coming by the Cardinals, and the give off is to Hinton. And Hinton struggles forward for a yard, maybe 2 up to the midfield stripe. Let's get that Ann Arbor Pioneer offense on the board for you for the second half.
The Pioneers, as we've talked about, Ferrari, the third-string quarterback, getting good efforts from the rest of that team, as the Pioneers have been strong up front. Belden, Wasserman, Moore, Robinson, McDowell, Beatty, and McCabe up front. Jackson, Hinton, Bailey, and of course Ferrari, as mentioned.
And we'll look at the Davison defense after this play. Give up to Aaron Bailey. Bailey moves forward close to 1st down yardage as he churned off for his left tackle out to the 43-yard line of the Cardinals.
Ball popped free, Mike, but the line judge over there said he was down. Here you see the Davison defense. Bickerman, Elizondo, Montpas, Couts, and Johnson.
That's Rob Johnson.
Rob Johnson, exactly, along with Matt Thomas and Aaron Johnson, the linebackers, John DeLarge, the monster back, Hall, Schultheis back there also for the Cardinals, along with Rubio.
Johnson and Thomas, Aaron Johnson that is, the top 2 tacklers for the Cardinals. Johnson with 128 total tackles, and he's in on that one at the bottom of the pile, taking down Bailey behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 2, and it'll bring up 4th down on a long 2 for Ann Arbor Pioneer. And I would imagine that Pioneer will go for it here with a 35-0 lead and 6 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Quick note, Mike, it's Henry Hahn in the football game in the secondary, not Aaron Rubio. Henry Hahn had a big interception last week against Saginaw Arthur Hill.
Ferrari brings them up indeed. 4th down and let's say 2.5 for Pioneer on the 45 of Davison. Davison jams it up, but getting the 1st down nicely was Adam Hinton. Hinton with a little extra effort got past that forward defensive line of Davison and into the linebacker area, enough for the 1st.
Mike, this is a tough football game for Davison Cardinal football players. They're down 35-0, a game that every game once the playoffs started was the biggest game of their career. And now they've got to realize that for the seniors, it could be the last football game they play, and they're going to want to go up heads high, giving 100%. You won't see the Cardinals giving up here. Dick DeLage and his staff with a bunch of winners on the football field. And though one team will walk off with less points than the other at the end of the football game, no team will walk off with players that are losers at this stage. Both teams, good young people out there enjoying a great opportunity to play high school football and making the most of it here in week number 3 of postseason play, the Michigan High School Athletic Association playoffs. And let's hope that as the game winds down, both teams come away healthy and both teams come away heads high, and the Pioneers move into the Silverdome for one more big one, while the Cardinals relish what has been a very, very good season, a fine year for the Davison Cardinals from the Big 9 Conference.
That was Matt Thomas on that last play, bringing up Aaron Bailey and almost catching the football. A very tough try it was Virgil Jackson, on the far sideline as he had to look over his wrong side shoulder to try and flag that football down and just wasn't quite able to. Brings up a 3rd and 11 for the Pioneers with 4:26 to go in the third quarter on the Davison 43.
Mike, we'll have an opportunity to talk to both coaches following tonight's game. We'll go down to the locker rooms and have a chance to see how both teams came out health-wise and how the Pioneers will prepare for the contest from the Dome next week.
Single coverage out there at Jackson. They go back to the ground, pitch to Hinton, and Hinton sprawls forward at the 35-yard line, pickup of about 7. Davison strung that out pretty well on the short side.
Mike, you asked me earlier whether I'd have the opportunity, if we call it an opportunity, to play under conditions like this. In your years in broadcasting high school and college football, have you ever had an opportunity to call a football game with conditions like this?
No. Incredibly, the worst situation I ever encountered was in a soccer match, where it was just a driving torrential rain the whole game, with the yard lines in soccer obliterated, and it was just unbelievable trying to pick and choose who was doing what and going which way. Fumble, Davison has it. The second turnover they caused on Ann Arbor Pioneer, getting the football out of that mess, was Henry Hahn for the Cardinals. So Davison takes over and rebuffs an Ann Arbor Pioneer touchdown opportunity.
Cardinals coming out, Tim Hentz still quarterbacking that group. And a couple of new ball players out there will set them for you in the slot over there, Mike. For the Cardinals, looks like possibly number 30, Rick Rubio, who was out with an injury earlier.
Hentz throws, here comes the rush, and down Hentz is going to go in a sea of white jerseys. Eon Campbell was there, along with Kevin Mogileski and a couple of other Pioneers.
Let's take a look at it again. It was from the quarterback's angle, not real pretty here as he looked at a whole bunch of Pioneers coming in. And it's a lonely feeling when you're tackled there with 5 or 6 defenders draped over you, down by a big deficit as the Cardinals are, and they're facing now 2nd down and long. It has not been easy for Davison, not at all. Right from the start, it has been a tough night for them.
Medium and colder as Hentz picks up the football, throws inside, and Terry Burdan has it up near the first down area. A few yards shy, but Burdan got most of the yardage back. About 13 yards up to the 40-yard line, and will bring up 3rd and a very manageable 3 for the Cardinals. That's what Davison has to do a lot more of here. They're not going to get it all back at once. They've got to get a lot of 15-yard passes in the Ann Arbor Pioneer defensive seams.
Well, they're going to have to get what Ann Arbor Pioneer was going to give them, and the Pioneers right now in the prevent, although you see a 4-man front right there, Ann Arbor Pioneer is going to give Davison a little bit more because of the score. As you see the 3rd down, check that, The third down pass just short, completed over there to Henry Hahn on the far side, right in front of the Cardinals bench. Sets up fourth down and looks to be a long yard.
And this is going to be a very tricky yard to pick up. It's like trying to make that 3-foot putt on the putting green on the 18th hole to win $1. From their own 44, fourth down, and the Cardinals have to pick up a yard to keep the ball.
Watch Hintz for the Cardinals just keep the ball here.
He did, and I don't think he got the first down.
Kevin Morgileski.
6'1", 195-pound senior. And the Pioneer defensive team is pointing in their direction to my right.
Morgileski, let's watch this again. He was very tough. He saw that the quarterback Hintz was going to step up, and Morgileski beat the block of to the left guard that time, it looked like, and made the stop, and we'll see what the officials will determine with the measurement. I think he's going to be a bit short, and it'll be Ann Arbor Pioneer football.
I agree. You know, thinking about the most adverse weather conditions that I broadcast in a football game, and it indeed is about short, well, several inches short. I did a game in a blanket of fog, rolling off the hills of east central Ohio. A small high school football game, and the fog just got thicker and thicker as the game progressed.
Little pea soup?
Oh, thick navy bean soup. And it was so hard to make out any kind of numerals. I couldn't even make out the striped jerseys of the referees at the end of the contest. Oh.
Certainly a first for probably both teams out there as the weather conditions.
Fortunately, I was doing the game on radio, and there wasn't any video involved. Pitch back by Ferrari to Hinton. Hinton trying to cut inside. Gets twisted down by fellow number 32, John DeLodge. Couple of yards on the play as we see a streamer come down in front of us. Clock coming down toward the end of the third period here. And Ann Arbor Pioneer content to stay on the ground and let as much of the clock run out. And they're indeed not going to run a play before the end of the quarter here. 35-0 Ann Arbor Pioneer, licking their chops, getting ready for the Pontiac Silverdome a week from tomorrow, Saturday, November 28th, to face the winner of the Birmingham Brother Rice Redford Catholic Central contest for the state Class A football championship in Michigan for 1987. Pioneer 35 and the Davison Cards nothing after 3 periods of play. Let's recap the scoring for you to this point. Pioneer didn't waste any time getting on the board after Davison fumbled for their first time tonight. One of 4 fumbles the Cardinals have had tonight. Pioneer took it the other way, 52-yard run by Aaron Bailey, and it was 7-0 Pioneer with 2:33 gone in the first quarter. Bailey added a 32-yard touchdown run in the first play of the second period for a 14-0 Pioneer lead. We'll get the rest of that scoring for you after this play to open up the fourth period. Ferrari on a counter play to Adam Hinton, and Hinton scooted forward for about 4 yards in the snow, bringing up a 3rd and 5 for Pioneer in Davison territory. Davison scored the second of their 3 second period touchdowns with 7:40 to go in the second period. Adam Hinton got the first of his 2 scores on a 16-yard run. This more out of the PAT, and it was 21-0. Pioneer got their final touchdown in the first half with 5:39 to play, a 14-yard Adam Hinton scamper, more with the extra point, and Pioneer led it 28-0 at the break. Pioneer got the only touchdown in the third quarter, as you see one of the substitutes running the football for Pioneer, Brad Fisher. Fisher almost lost the handle as Davison's Aaron Johnson was coming up quickly for the football, and Fisher got a couple of yards, bringing up a 4th down and about 3 to go for Pioneer. Pioneer getting their final touchdown to date on Bailey's 3rd touchdown, 63 yards he went this time with a pigskin, more with his 3rd extra point of the night, and That's where we stand, 35-0 Pioneer with 10:40 to play at Flint's Atwood Stadium. Mike Gutowski along with Tom Skinner and Coach Chuck Lowry starting to empty his bench. Charles Goodson with a carry straight up the middle there, and I believe he was stopped short of the first down on that fourth down carry. And indeed, Davison has stiffened on downs, and the Cardinals will take over, and we'll see what Davison can do. Moving from my left to my right in their rust-colored jerseys with the mustard yellow numerals and pants. Hence still the quarterback. And they go once again with numerous wideouts. Christensen and Rubio down on the near side. DeLodge straight up the middle. One man to beat. John DeLodge. He may go all the way down the left sideline. Touchdown Davison. Nice to see the Cardinals get one there as John DeLodge roamed 66 yards untouched as he barreled behind a gaping hole made by his left guard and left tackle, Rich Loren and Matt Thomas, respectively. And the Cardinals are finally on the board with about 10 minutes to go in the contest.
DeLodge, you talked earlier, Mike, about the Cardinals with their breakaway speed potential in the backfield. Hall, DeLodge, Aaron Rubio as well. And here it is again, the give to the first man through, DeLodge. And I don't know if he was touched. He went untouched, it looks like, all the way to the end zone. And John DeLodge, Coach Dick DeLodge's son, with the scoring run, the incomplete pass on the conversion attempt will keep the score at 35-6 following that touchdown run by John DeLodge.
Hence firing behind is receiver Terry Burdan. So the two-point conversion no good, and it's 35-6 Pioneer. We've seen plenty of long runs tonight. 52 yards and 63 yards for Aaron Bailey of the Pioneers.
And Mike, it looks as though the place kicker, the kickoff man, will take his jacket off. I thought he was going to come out and keep the jacket on and, let's keep ourselves warm out there, but he decided, wait, we'll go without the jacket. We'll put it back on after the kickoff.
I thought he had a pretty good idea.
Certainly did, as it is definitely a cold one. Jim Hager, number 88.
Jim, we want to identify you. I don't think the referees did that completely for our benefit, but we'll assume they did.
Sure. 9:59 left, Mike, and what a football game for the Pioneers. I don't know if they could have imagined a script anything close to this, but Chuck Lowry and his staff certainly not going to complain as they're out.
Coach Lowry has made quite a point of his Pioneers this year playing above their ability, saying that they have 3 and 6 talent, but they don't realize it. Coming away with the football on the kickoff return and really getting rocked by Davison's Shane Miller was Adam Hinton. Hinton really got stenciled to the turf that time.
Mike, I don't know if Coach Chuck Lowry is doing it to keep his players on an even emotional plane, but if he is, it's certainly working. A team that he says has 3 and 6 talent, but is looking to be 10 and 2 shortly following the completion of this quarter, is a team that, if nothing else, knows how to win. And that'll take you a long way, and it's taken the Pioneers to week 3, and it will take them to week 4 in the Michigan High School Athletic Association playoffs.
Aaron Bailey with the football, and he moves over his left tackle and got 4 yards out to his 35-yard line. 2nd and 6, and Pioneer will certainly let as much time eclipse off the clock as possible. Lowry is really full of team depreciating comments like that, and that seems to really be his trademark, Tom. Saying before the game, we're so banged up and Davison's so great, I don't know if we're even going to show up.
Sounds like Bo a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ann Arbor Pioneer has certainly showed up en masse for tonight's ball game, and they have really taken it to the Cardinals, the champions of the Big 9 Conference, And that time, Aaron Bailey had nowhere to go. The entire Davison team seemed to crease on him there, led by number 65, Matt Thomas, the linebacker. They have the third down and long for Ann Arbor Pioneer, and Davison would like nothing better than to get the ball back quickly and see if they can get another score put up on the board. See if Pioneer will stay on the ground. Ferrari looking over that five-man Davison front, had no one to hand the ball off to. As in the pro set, one of the members of the Pioneer backfield went one way, Ferrari looked, and the other member of the backfield went the other way, away from Ferrari, and poor Rob Ferrari was left very lonely in that backfield for Ann Arbor Pioneer.
High and dry ice.
High and snow-covered at the end of that play. 4th and 8, and Pioneer's going to kick it away. Kurt Large will do the punting for the Pioneers. And Aaron Rubio will see if he can get open on a punt return for the Cardinals. Cardinals will rush 9 with Delage, John Delage coming on the outside. They're coming. Ooh, missed it. Ball comes down, and Rubio's going to let it bounce, and it takes a Davison look. And Pioneer stops it cold as quickly as they can with 7:08 to go in the contest and some precipitation starting to come down here in Flint.
Mike, we talked about Kit Dickinson, the All-State honorable mention quarterback from Ann Arbor Pioneer, who went down with the injury in Week 9. The second-string quarterback, Brian Bullock, check that, tore knee ligaments in the third quarter of the opening playoff game. He is on the mend, so we wish the best to those players as they bounce back. The Cardinals with a couple of players who went down in the season, early in the season. The quarterback, Todd Swinger, and Rick Rubio, Aaron Rubio's brother. Rick is back, and though he is dressed, this is the second week he'll dress, he is not back to full strength yet, but good to see those players have been able to come back on the mend.
And Todd Sweenor lined up as a wideout in the first half briefly for Davison, so he's also back. And Rubio comes over, and again he's going to let it take a bounce, and it comes down at about the same spot. Pioneer may have gained an extra 5 yards as a result of their 5-yard walk-off issued by the officials. So at any rate, Davison simply lost a little bit more time. Now 6:38 to play, and the Cardinals way down 35-6 to the Pioneers. Tim Hentz will bring him up with his collection of wideouts. Both Hall and Delage in the backfield now, and Hentz stumbles back, throws behind Jeff Christensen, incomplete.
There you see a perfect example of what the frustrations have been like for Davison tonight. Christensen not able to plant to try to come back to the football, and the ball sails behind him. You get behind in a football game like this, and you've got to come back with the pass. You've got to be very, very good. In fact, you've almost got to be great in order to have much success. And unfortunately for the Cardinals, Tim Hentz has not been able to find that greatness tonight, as it has been very tough for the Cardinals quarterback. There's an on
ball. That time it was just a bad handoff. Ball still loose. Pioneer madly waving their arms toward the Davison goal line, and the Pioneers have it. For Davison, their 8th turnover tonight. 5 fumbles and 3 interceptions off of Tim Hentz.
Mike, as we look at the clock with 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes, clock now beginning to run left in this fourth quarter and the football game. I'd like to thank the athletic directors for the 2 schools. From Davison, Dave Young. Great thanks to Dave and his staff in helping us prepare for tonight's football game. And from Ann Arbor Pioneer, Charles Ritter, the athletic department, and his secretary Susan. She helped with stats and a bunch of other pertinent information that has helped us bring the football game to those respective schools. We appreciate their efforts.
Charles Goodson with the carry off the handoff from Ferrari. And Dave Maschke, along with Todd Sweenor, making the stop. Sweenor now getting some defensive playing time after being injured for much of the season for the Cardinals. A little over 5 minutes to go, and second down, and Pioneer will try it again from 10 yards to go. This time it's Brad Fisher, and Fisher is tumbled right down at the line of scrimmage. This is what Davison needed about an hour and a half ago, this kind of defensive line play. Unfortunately, it just wasn't there for them at the outset.
All things considered, both teams now with a wealth of new players on the football field. Some starters still remaining, but for the most part, both teams and the coaches have given opportunities to backup players. Probably a lot of seniors out there who don't normally start, who might be experiencing the opportunity to play a little bit more than normal.
Goodson cracking on the counter off his right tackle, got 3 yards. He was knocked down by Dennis Cox, the third leading tackler for the Cardinals this season, along with Terry Randolph, the nose guard, 5'10", 175-pound, 17-year-old senior. Fourth down for Pioneer. Davison looking to get the ball back for at least one more concerted effort at the Pioneer end zone. Goodson will try, cuts it inside, and he was walloped as he got it down to the 35-yard line, and Davison will take over on downs.
Goodson went airborne there as he tried to lunge for pay dirt.
Yeah, that was kind of a helicopter turn he made there. I'll take nothing away from Davison. They have had a superb season. A season where they were looked to at least contend in their Big 9 conference in the Flint area. But certainly I think there were other teams that most Flint area football high school watchers were watching to come out on top.
The Grand Blanc Bobcats for one. And
Flint Powers Catholic.
Although many thought that Powers would be in possibly a down season, they didn't think that the Chargers would fall so far from the first division. They thought that they would compete, but the Cardinals...
Carmen
Ainsworth with a strong defense. The Cardinals, though, with a lot of young players, a lot of juniors that played last year, certainly gave them a springboard at least to work from.
And for the Cardinals, it's been a season of revenge. They have avenged all of last year's losses, as well as their only loss this year to Midland. We talked about the Midland opening game loss that they avenged in the first game of the playoffs, the Cardinals. The Cardinals also got revenge on last year's losses to Grand Blanc, to Flint Carmen Ainsworth, as Hentz throws over the middle, and Terry Burdan catches it, knocked down, but not before Burdan got 20 yards, well into Pioneer territory at about the Pioneer 40-yard line.
Mike, a quick reminder to football fans, we will, after the rundown of the scoring for tonight's ball game, we will go down to the locker room and close our football presentation out from the locker room with discussions with both coaches.
And you'll be down there, Tom?
Yes, sir. We'll be, and we'll talk to Coach Chuck Lori and Dick DeLage for Davison.
Hentz throwing long, has Roy Hall, sprinting touchdown! Well, that was easy. Tim Hentz slaps the hand of one of his teammates and says it's as if saying it's about time. Hitting Roy Hall in stride behind the Pioneers secondary, 45 yards. And the second Davison touchdown tonight. Coming with 1:50 to play, and under this kind of weather, this was an absolutely superb throw by Hentz.
Right on the money. Hall looked over his shoulder and it was there. The defender making the effort to go for it, Sterling Olson. But Olson not able to make the interception, and Hall grabbed the football and went in for the score.
Davison runs out of their wishbone for two, and Hall burrows into the end zone for the 2-point conversion. And Davison has sliced into the sizable sandwich the Pioneers made for themselves to 35-14 Pioneer. 45-yard touchdown pass, Tim Hentz to Roy Hall. Two of the more prominent members of that Davison offense all season long. So Davison, after being behind 35-0, has come back to make the score quite a bit more respectable with 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns here at Atwood Stadium.
That's talked about earlier, the Cardinals, the seniors especially, playing for pride, wanting to go up feeling as well as they could about this, what could be their final game, certainly their final high school game.
There's the boot by Jim Hager. Comes down to Maurice Booker. Booker turns out of a sea of players in the middle of the field, still on his feet. And if it weren't for Dennis Kotz coming over and just managing to get a piece of Maurice Booker's ankle, Booker may have been flying all the way down that near sideline.
Let's take a look at it again. There you see the kickoff, and kind of caught everybody by surprise because as you see the players swarm together there in the middle, Maurice Booker said, "Oh, wait a minute, let's take another avenue here. That was a little bit crowded." And he broke to the outside near the near sidelines near his home bench. Picked up a good game.
Yeah, he encountered New York City 5th Avenue there and decided to take a much less populated track. And he almost found the right one. There's procedure call going against Ann Arbor Pioneer. Will set him back 5.
Mike talking about penalties. We haven't seen many penalties in tonight's football game, and aside from the fumbles, it's been a well-played football game. It's been as we would expect at this stage of the year, a good, clean football game, and especially from the two programs we're talking about, two of the finer programs in the state. And the only penalties really we've had, a couple of procedure penalties, an offsides penalty, things like that.
And the execution and the sportsmanship, two of the prime features that reflect good coaching by both schools. The pitch back to Booker. And Booker is taken down from behind the line of scrimmage by Dennis Kautz. 5'11", they list him at 145. I've got to believe he goes more than that. The junior, he'll be back for another year of Cardinal football and will be one of the members that Coach Dick DeLage will heavily rely upon for the Davison football fortunes in the fall of 1988. It's going to come down. This should be the last play of the game. Ann Arbor Pioneer set to go to the Pontiac Silverdome a week from tomorrow, November 28th, to face the winner of Redford Catholic Central and Birmingham Brother Rice. And we're going to have another penalty here as the new quarterback for Pioneer getting some playing time, Brian Bullock, the junior. And we'll have time for one more play as Tom Skinner gets set to go downstairs and talk with the head football coaches of hopefully both teams, winning coach Chuck Lowry and Dick DeLage on the Davison side. This will be the final play. Scott Figgins in the ball game for Davison. And simply getting the center snap and going back with the football, and now watching the clock run out are Ann Arbor Pioneer. They come racing out onto the field, and they're on their way to Pontiac. And for Davison, an outstanding season that should not be marred by the sting of their defeat this evening under very tough playing conditions and the snowy playing surface, the artificial turf at Atwood Stadium here in Flint. Pioneer wins it easily, 35-14 over the Davison Cardinals as the two teams go through the long line of handshake ritual. Let's recap the scoring for you now for tonight's ball game. As you see the final score, Ann Arbor Pioneer wasted no time in putting points on the scoreboard. They took advantage of a Davison fumble on the first possession of the contest and took it the other way. Aaron Bailey, a 52-yard touchdown run. The extra point by Chris Moore was no good, but Ann Arbor Pioneer had that all-important first touchdown on the board, and they led it over the Cards 6-0 with just 2.5 minutes gone in the contest. The two teams struggled for field position the rest of the first quarter. Pioneer had a couple of opportunities to take advantage of Davison miscues, weren't able to do so, but finally Pioneer broke through again for their second touchdown on the first play of the second quarter. With 11:53 to go in that second frame, once again it was Aaron Bailey, this time rambling 32 yards for the touchdown. And this time quarterback Rob Ferrari hit Sean McCabe with a 2-point conversion pass, and Pioneer had up their lead to 14-0 over the Cardinals. Unfortunately, things got worse for Davison instead of better. With 7:40 to go in the second quarter, Adam Hinton scored his first touchdown on a 16-yard scamper, and Chris Moore added the extra point boot. It was 21-0 Pioneers. With 5:39 to play, just over 2 minutes had elapsed before Pioneer struck again. Adam Hinton, once again taking full advantage of a cluster of Davison turnovers, rolled home from 14 yards on the ground. Moore added the point after, and it was 28-0 Ann Arbor Pioneer at halftime. And fortunately for Davison, they were able to hold off any further Ann Arbor Pioneer damage in that first half. But the damage had been done, and Davison really was not able to get back in the contest at all in the second half, although they managed to make the score look a little bit better. In the second half, Pioneer scored their final touchdown first. Aaron Bailey on a 63-yard run. It was 35-0 Pioneer after Chris Moore's extra point. Then in the fourth quarter, 2 Davison touchdowns salvaged some respect for the Cardinals and their followers. The first one, a John DeLodge 66-yard touchdown run. The 2-point conversion try by Davison was no good, and it was 35-6 Pioneer with 9:59 to play in the contest. Davison got their final touchdown with 1:50 to go. Tim Hentz hitting Roy Hall perfectly with a 45-yard touchdown pass, and this time the 2-point conversion try by the Cardinals on a Roy Hall run was good, and that's the way it ended up. Ann Arbor Pioneer 35 and Davison 14. Davison hurt terribly by 8 turnovers tonight, while Pioneer did a much better job of handling the football in these very frigid weather conditions, only turning the ball over twice, and that proved to be an extremely important aspect of the football game. Pioneer with just 2 turnovers as opposed to 8 for Davison. So Davison finishes their season 10-2 overall, while Ann Arbor Pioneer goes on to the state high school Class A football finals against either Birmingham Brother Rice or Redford Catholic Central on the heels of their 10-2 record. 35-14 the Pioneers over the Davison Cardinals, and we'll go down to the locker room next.
Uncles were on roller skates, and they trapped us and just got the job done.
Was there a point in the football game early in the first quarter, first half, that you felt that things were getting away from your team?
We were down 3 touchdowns. That's quite a ways away. That's a lot to come back in these conditions. And I guess I'm not a quitter, and the kids weren't a quitter. We came in at halftime, talked about what we had to do, and went back out, and we didn't accomplish it. And that's sometimes happens in football.
They scored right off a turnover right at the start of the game. You've had that happen before and come back, but given these field conditions, figuring it's going to be tough to get anything going, did that really take a lot out of you to have that happen that early?
I think that was very detrimental in a game like this. You look back at Midland and Beecher. We've had that happen before, but I just don't think we could afford to have that happen. We knew they were a good defensive ball club, and they certainly showed that tonight.
did the adjustment that they had to make, and were given a couple of weeks to be able to make that a mental adjustment from a passing team or a team that did both well to a team that ran the football versus your team forced to adjust in a matter of a few minutes. Was that too much for a football team to have to do in one night?
I don't believe in making excuses like that. They had to come here and play in the same field conditions we did. We have running plays that should be executed just as well that we've been running all year in those field conditions. We run traps, they ran traps. Those were successful and ours weren't. Their defense executed better than ours.
In year number 2 at Davison High School as a head football coach, did you expect to have the success that your kids were able to enjoy and your staff was able to enjoy to this extent?
I think we went into the year, thinking Silver Dome and going into the playoffs, and those are lofty goals. But I think every coach in the state goes in with those kind of goals, and certainly, we hope to achieve those goals. And it was just great. It was tremendous to be involved in the playoffs, and it's an exciting experience that I was glad the kids were able to go through it.
The most important thing is results, and he's been pretty effective for us. I like both my running backs, and they do the best they can.
Coach, you talk about results, and if, as members of the media looking back and you hear about your team's got 3 and 6 talent and your team is this and your team is that, I guess if you have to make a choice, you'd rather take kids that know how to win than teams that have 9 and 0 talent.
But what's really nice is when you get 9 and 0 talent that know how to win. And when you got 3 and 6 talent and they know how to win, it makes it an awfully enjoyable season. I really like our seniors. They do a good job in the classroom, and I think they're good citizens. I think they got good work habits. I think they play hard, and I think I've told a lot of people listen to press. I wouldn't be surprised if one person from that senior class, that senior football team, be president of the United States someday. We got some good leaders in that team.
Going back to the football game and tonight, when you walked into the stadium and you saw the field had just been cleared as best it could have been with the tractor, and then the snow came and wiped out lines and numbers, you had no idea where the team was going to be on the football field. Did you?
John, you got a nice ball club, and good luck to you. Got a great job. Might have been exactly the opposite. So we were lucky that the ball bounced our way, especially early in the first half, and we had a couple long runs, and we had a couple nice holes there, and credit to our offensive line there a little bit. I think there were holes there. They weren't lucky runs. And, when we got into the secondary, our kids knew what to do. But I was hoping that it wouldn't be an overtime game. I was hoping that, what I'm saying, it'd be 14-10, 10-7. I thought a field goal might win the game. Is really what I was looking at. And the team that fumbled or got a punt blocked in their end of the end zone, or their end of the field, might be the loser of that football game. So I'm really surprised that the score is like it was with the field like it is. I'm really surprised.
Did you feel the field and the conditions when they changed so dramatically prior to the start favored your team, since your team has had to and has been able to adjust from a passing and running oriented team to a team that has run the football, where Davison hasn't had that time to adjust? They had to make the adjustment tonight.
I think, if we were a throwing football team, we would have done what we did with the weather conditions the way they were. And I think what he wanted to do is the same things I wanted to do, but when he got behind, when you stop the clock, I don't want anybody talking to the kids. Nobody talks to the players today. Kind of got off the track there a little bit, I'm sorry, but I would have had done exactly the same thing that we did, and I think he wanted to do the same thing we did, but except he gave us the field position and gave us the points early, and what was you going to do? What could you do? I would have done what he did, is spread them out and try to stop the clock and hope you get some big plays. And I think we both wanted to do the same thing early, and things just went the other way.
I think you got a couple of our tapes, and we got a couple of yours.
Okay. I know I didn't get the news. Thank you. I'll get for you. My equipment man's got it. We got to get those two.
What was your concerns going?
I mean, not because of the snow, but it looked like they haven't painted in 3 years. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, officials should at least be able to call it a good game. You know, and I think that was certainly handicapping them quite a bit because of the field. And then, of course, when the snow came, I thought the officials should get overtime pay for tonight because they worked their tails off, and I thought they did a pretty good job. And I'm glad that it didn't have to come down to the decision of a referee. You know, there could have been a heck of a lot of controversy over the situation of that field.
Tom Skinner with Coach Chuck Lori of Ann Arbor Pioneer. And Coach, we talked prior to tonight's football game, and you felt that penalties and turnovers are going to be important keys. Staying away from those, your team did that. You were successful, and now you get a chance to play one more game in the one-game season.
Well, I felt like that would be the key. That's what I told the kids before they took the field. I thought special teams, turnovers, and penalties would be the outcome. I thought it would be 10-7. It would be hard-fight ball game all the way through the fourth quarter. And should I be darned if we didn't go out and they started turning the ball over a little bit sooner than I thought they might. And then we got good field position, and we were able to take advantage of their mistakes. And, you know, we had a pretty comfortable lead at halftime. I really don't feel like we're that superior to them. I just feel like they made the mistakes and we didn't. And because we didn't and because they did, we were fortunate enough to win like we did.
Is the secret, or if it's not a secret, are the ingredients the same for success next week at the Silverdome that they were tonight as far as penalties and turnovers and staying away from that bug?
If you don't turn the ball over and you don't penalize yourself and you have a good kicking game, you should be in every ball game. So you know, the weather conditions make it even that much more important, which the weather probably won't be as big of a factor there, I hope, unless the roof falls in again. You know, but still in a close ball game, and I hope we're able to compete with the winner of tomorrow's ball game. You know, that's what we'll have to do to stay in it.
It's said by many coaches that the key to success with football teams, or really any team, is the maturation of the seniors. How have your seniors matured through this year, and how important has that maturation been to your overall team success?
To make a long story short, our sophomores were 4 and 5, or our seniors were 4 and 5 when they were sophomores. And last year we started 19 seniors out of 22, and we've always platooned. And probably of those 19 seniors, and of the backup 22, probably another 15 were seniors. And we had like 34 seniors last year, and they were all in the top 44. They were all in the key game and everything, because the junior class last year, just to be perfectly honest with you, only had 2 or 3 kids that were as good as the kids we had. And we lost all those kids, and some of them were very good. We had 4 kids get major scholarships off of last year's football team. And then, you know, you look at this team, and you just didn't know how they were going to be, but they worked hard in the off season, and I think because they were so abused as sophomores and juniors, I think they wanted to prove that, hey, they could be as good as anybody else that we've ever had. And I think because of their attitude, because of that kind of attitude, and because they wanted to carry on the tradition, and they wanted to be as successful as anybody else we've had, I really feel like that's why they've maturated, and that's why they've become men, and they want to stand on their own 2 feet. They want to have their own merit, and they want to have their own reputation.
Well, they certainly can do that after a very good win tonight, and they have an opportunity at a little more history next week at the Silverdome, and you have a chance to go to that dance again. Any feelings about the second time around?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I'm really not thinking about that. I'm just really elated. I'm really proud of my football team. Tomorrow we're going to look at the film, and then we're going to go scout tomorrow, of course, too, and I'll probably, you know, start getting a feel for the game. To tell you the truth right now, I just want to enjoy tonight's win, and I don't even know who it's going to be, so it's hard for me to focus really in on just one of the individuals. Maybe if I did, maybe a little bit, you know, might be a little bit easier for us to focus in on. We don't even know who it is. So right now, we're just going to enjoy tonight and work hard tomorrow morning and try to get a game plan tomorrow afternoon.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you and your staff and your kids and the Ann Arbor Pioneer family. And next week, maybe we can enjoy reading about the Pioneers taking home that first place hardware in the Class A state championship.
Well, we hope to do our best, and you know, if we do our best, you know, that's all I can ask of our kids.
And that's all we can ask from anybody. Give your best shot. From the locker room, and Coach Chuck Lori and the Ann Arbor Pioneers 35-14 win in the semifinal matchup with Davison. Thanks for joining us, and continued success, Coach, down the road.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
You betcha.
Okay. Let you go.
Tom Skinner, wishing everyone out there, football fans alike, in Davison and Ann Arbor, home of the Pioneers and the Cardinals. Thank you for joining Mike Kotowski and I. Final score from Atwood Stadium: the Ann Arbor Pioneers 35 and the Davison Cardinals 14. So long, everyone.